Hola chicos, today we're going to discuss another Spanish tense, which is el pretérito imperfecto del subjuntivo. So it sounds complicated, but it's not really. It is the imperfect of the subjunctive, also known as the past of the subjunctive, and I think it is more descriptive and easier to remember. The reason it is because you are going to deal with the subjunctive that you have learned already, but in the past tense. If you're not comfortable with the present tense subjunctive, I think it's a good idea to stop the video, go back to the channel, and on my channel there is a video with the introduction to the present subjunctive. You probably should do it before. So I'm just saying that it might be more useful to you to get the present subjunctive before the past subjunctive. Another thing that you need to know really well before proceeding with this lesson is the preterite tense or the simple past tense in Spanish. If you're comfortable with it, go ahead. If not, I think it's a good idea to stop and to review it, okay? And then finally, this lesson is going to deal with the dark side of the rabbits and their habits and their enthusiasm and their love for football and for soccer. So we're going to deal with the ra concept in this lesson. Ra, according to my favorite dictionary, is Rara speech or behavior is enthusiastic and is intended to encourage someone such as a sports player or team. And in this lesson, I'm going to encourage you to get familiar with the past subjunctive and to learn how to form it, how to use it, and how to recognize it. Okay, so let's go. So past subjunctive, when do you need it? So first of all, you have already learned the present subjunctive. This lesson assumes that. And you learned it when your triggers are in the present. So for example, your triggers, you remember this concept of the weirdo. You deal with the wishes, emotion, impersonal statements, requests, doubt and denial, and ojalá. And note, all of them are dealing with the hypothetical situations. So with the hypothetical situations, or they emphasize in this case how a person feels about a certain situation. So when your trigger, one of these, but not limited to, is in the present, you're going to use the present subjunctive. When one of those triggers is in the past, then you will need the past subjunctive. All right? So you have here the globo, and I'm preparing you for the ra concept because we're going to use that for creating the past subjunctive. And then you have here el conejo, our friend with darker side, the one that likes football very much. The bunny stepped up to the microphone and swung into his rah-rah speech. All right. So how do you form that past subjunctive? You form that past subjunctive in a very simple way. Remember that in Spanish there are three kinds of verbs. AR verbs, ER verbs, and the IR verbs. So for all three of them, the past subjunctive will be created in the same way. In order to create the past subjunctive, you need to be extremely comfortable with the past tense in Spanish, the simple past or the preterite. So if you remember that it will be hablé, hablaste, habló, hablamos, hablasteis, hablaron, yeah? Would be I spoke, you spoke, he, she spoke, you, sir, you, madam spoke, we spoke. You, plural, spoke, used only in Spain. Or they spoke, or ustedes, you, plural, spoke. If you remember that, then you see immediately that you will need this conjugation. Third person plural. ellos, and ustedes. So you take that hablaron, you take out the last three letters, and then you add to it the famous and so much talked about ra, ra, ra. How do you do that? You're going to see it on the next page, but just remember, you're going to add that ra, ra, ra to that form that you received, what you got, after removing the three last letters from the conjugation of the preterite third person plural. All right, so you have here the ra, 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 and the dark rabbit covered with tattoos, watching football and being a fan of Real Madrid. So you add to the root that you figured out here, habla, and you add to it ra, and it will be the past subjunctive for the first person. Ras, and it will be the past subjunctive for the second person singular informal. You add to it ra, and then it will be the third person singular or the second person uh, formal. So it will be for yo form, for tú, for él, for ella, and for usted, right? So habláramos, and you will need to put the accent mark on this vowel in here. It will be for nosotros form, and then for vosotros, used only in Spain, it will be hablarais, because you add these endings to the root from the previous page. And hablaran will be for ustedes and ellos, right here. And it will be third person plural. So you have here, yo quería que mi equipo ganara. How did you get that ganara? Past subjunctive of the singular noun in here. You do it very easily by adding ra, that you see it right here, to the gana that you got from the from this conjugation. All right. So I wanted, and know that this trigger is in the past, and therefore this past subjunctive is going to be used instead of the present subjunctive. You have the que as the connector of two sides of the sentence. So it is, I wanted that my team won. I wanted my team to win. All right, so you will need to question the trigger, whether it is in subjunctive or not, in order to use the subjunctive form for the main verb. All right. You have in Spanish AR, ER, IR verbs, right? And what I want to tell you here, that there is alternative, another way of creating the past subjunctive, because Spanish is language of freedom, and it's also language of richness. Yeah. So if you add these endings to the same root, yeah, you will get here. So we took the verb ganar, means to win. Ganar. So what I'm doing here, I put that verb, if you put this verb into the form of the third person preterite, past tense, then you get the root to which you will be adding and endings. So it will be ganaron, yeah? It will be I won, you won, he, she won, you, sir, you, madam won, we won, you, plural, won, and they won, and you, plural, won. So it's ganaron. But if you add these endings to that, you will have yo quería que mi equipo ganase, and you add that se to the root. So yo quería que mi equipo ganase, and if you wanted to say instead, yo quería que mi equipo ganara, as you learned on the previous page, That is completely correct as well. So there are two correct forms. So note that ganara from the previous page is by far more common. So this one you just need to recognize, but it's less common. All right. And then sometimes, the games are lost and sometimes the games are won. So the rara balloon here is a little bit deflated. The rabbit is a little bit sad. So you have here some sentences. Yo quiero que mi equipo gane. Yo quiero is the wish, right? So it is the trigger in the present. You have que that connects two parts of the sentence. And then you have gane, which is the present subjunctive from the verb ganar, to win. If the same trigger will be in the past, yo quería que mi equipo ganara, I wanted my team to win, then that ganara will be in the past. Why? Because it will be past subjunctive, because your trigger was in the past. Same que is required. Quería que mi equipo ganase, and it is exactly the same thing, but you're using here the alternative form of the past subjunctive. Both are correct. Also, that yo is optional because Spanish is language of freedom, and I did not use it here because it is implied in the conjugation. You don't have to use it. The subject pronouns are actually optional. Okay? So note that these two sentences, they are exactly the same in meaning, and note that you can do it either way and both are correct. So the next one is el conejo, which is the rabbit. El conejo duda que Barça gane. The rabbit doubts, and here you have another trigger. The trigger is doubt or denial. If you doubt that something happens or can happen, then it is hypothetical reality. If it's hypothetical reality, it is the subjunctive. But it happens in the present here, and therefore it is the present subjunctive. Él dudaba, he doubted that Barça would win, that Barça wins. Then you have it in the past, you have que that connects two parts, and then ganara is the past subjunctive. So take a wild guess. If you decide to write in here ganase, would it be correct? And I'm telling you that will be perfectly correct because Spanish is the language of freedom and also of rich and good grammar. All right, let's see more. Here would be a good moment to stop the video, to translate the sentences, and to conjugate the verb. And you have to choose between the subject, between the subjunctive, present subjunctive, or the past subjunctive, depending whether your trigger is in the present or in the past. All right, hope it was not too difficult. So here, let's see. Me alegro, and your trigger here is the emotion. Que usted cocinar bien. Cocinar is to cook, so you have I'm happy that you, sir, or your madam, and then since your trigger is in the present, then you say cocine. Why is it cocine? Because it's a present subjunctive. Did you notice that you also absolutely need que in here? That somehow got out of here. Me alegro que usted cocine bien. I'm happy that you cook well. And it is the present subjunctive. The next one is, ¿quieres que ella cante ahora? Why is it cante? Because it is the present subjunctive. Why is it present subjunctive? Because quieres is the wish, and the wish is the trigger in the present. Let's go into the past. Querías que ella canta, and then you'll say cantara or cantase. Both are correct. Don't forget the number one is more common. We want your team to win. And now you're translating from English into Spanish. We want our team to win. So it will be queremos que, technical difficulties, que nuestro equipo gane. Don't forget the upside down exclamation sign. Queremos que nuestro equipo gane. You use present subjunctive because queremos, the trigger is in the present. We wanted our team to win. In the past, it will be queríamos que nuestro equipo ganara or ganase. Both are correct. It is the past subjunctive. You already know how to create it. We wish our team played better. This is the case when the que is optional and you use ojalá. Ojalá nuestro equipo jugara mejor. Ojalá nuestro equipo jugara mejor. We wish our team played better. All right. You saw already how it works for the regular verbs. Now let's take a look at the irregular. Irregular verbs. So you have here sentences. We want our team to be better. To be is a highly irregular verb. So you know that you create your past subjunctive from the third person in the preterite. In the preterite, you will see that to be is fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fuisteis, and fueron, right? So you will need this form, right? The third person. So you have it, and then from that you will create the so queremos que nuestro equipo sea mejor. Why did I use sea? Because it is we want. We wanted, past tense, and then it will be fuera. And why did I get that fuera? And I got it right from here, and it is highly irregular, so you need to memorize it. So for the verb to be, it is like that. So the next sentence is, they doubted that the rabbit knew how to play. So you will say dudaron, because that's what you say for the they doubted. And then you see that your trigger is in the past. Dudaron que el conejo, and then you need to verb to know how. Oh, and then you go here, and you go here, and you are trying to use the saber. But the problem is it's one of the verbs that change meaning in the preterite. So here, in this case, your system will not work. You cannot use it. Why? Because supo means to find out. Supieron means to find out. So it's one of the verbs that changes the meaning in the past. So what do? The good news is that it still works. It still works for the past subjunctive. So the preterite form will be supieron. Supieron. Right? It means they found out. But at the same time, it means they knew. Because when you start knowing something at some moment, you find it out. So you still are going to use the form supiera. Why is it supiera? Because it's a singular rabbit. So what you have here, dudaron que el conejo supiera jugar, to play. So even though the verb saber changes the meaning in the preterite, in this case, you are still going to use the form supiera because it is the subjunctive. Otherwise, if it is indicative, you have to be more careful and not to use the incorrect form. All right? Okay. So finally, I hope that this lesson was useful. What did we learn? We learned that triggers in the past will require the subjunctive in the past. Triggers in the present will require the subjunctive in the present. Then we needed to review the preterite tense they form because you will need that form of the plural to create the past subjunctive. Finally, you learn that ra, ra, ra is the main way of adding endings to the root that you create from that. All right, espero que entiendan la explicación. I hope that you understand the explanation. If my trigger were in the past, I hoped that you understood the explanation. Then I would put that entendieran, created in a known way, in the past subjunctive. And then yo esperaba que ustedes entendiesen la explicación. It's exactly the same, but I use the subject pronouns because Spanish is language of freedom and also of law and order. I hope this lesson was useful. I hope it had enough examples, and if it didn't, please let me know and I will record more of those. You can write to me on my channel. Ciao, pescado.